All right. Good evening, everyone. It's a great privilege to be here. And thank you very much for the opportunity to come and share in your experiences and knowledge, because I'm very, very confident that I will also be learning as we progress, right? So we'll be talking, discussing on entrepreneurship and engineering. Just, like had earlier been said, we are not just to solve problems alone. I mean, the skill sets of solving problems also, is key and vital in business development and management as well. So I put some slides together, not that exhaustive, but maybe enough to, start the conversation. I have an agenda here just to introduce engineering and entrepreneurship, identifying opportunities and developing, business ideas. I mean, we'll see all of that in the presentation, so I will run through, and if need be, come back to the agenda in case I forget anything. I've earlier been introduced, so I guess I will not take our time on this slide, but this is just me. I've had the opportunity of working with MTN. I went to a Federal University of Technology, Minna, studied electrical and computer engineering. I have an MBA. I started working with NETCO, which is the engineering arm of NMPC. A few years back, I guess. I don't know how they are now. And then I've had the privilege of starting a few companies. So in case you see any logo there that you're not familiar with, those are my personal ventures. I currently run or manage Vesselnet, but then I have other ventures or companies doing different things. Some plenty, like Ibrahim mentioned earlier, is into renewable energy. Carlton is into digital tech, and Vesselnet is, the brand that that operates the other small businesses under it, right? So, how will we run today? I am very sure that time is of the essence, so I will not waste our time. I will try as much as possible to be brief. It is a learning session. Better insights are welcome from your end. I would also like to, enjoy sharing knowledge with you. With you guys. Your insights are as valuable as mine, maybe even better. So let's collaborate. And then at the end of the session or the presentation, there will be question and answer. We're free to engage and learn. So we are, trying to find the intersection between entrepreneurship and engineering. I would like to start by, just basically defining what entrepreneurship is and what engineering is before we get, into the details of how, being engineers, it position us for entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is the process of identifying new business opportunities and putting them into action through the development of new products or services. And according to a renowned Harvard Business School professor, Howard Stevenson, he said he defined entrepreneurship as the pursuit of opportunity beyond resources, right? So there are three key words there that maybe we should pay attention to. pursuit of opportunity and, resources, right? So engineering is the application of scientific and mathematical principles to design, build, and improve structures, machines, systems, and processes. I'm very sure we are familiar with this. So why engineers make great entrepreneurs? I'm not, I don't know, it's a question, but maybe as we engage, we'll find out why we will make good entrepreneurs or otherwise, right? But by training, engineers are problem solvers, right? Entrepreneurship amplifies the ability to create impactful solutions. So if originally we are problem solvers, it's just, would be very easy for us to adapt to solving, normal world problems, right? I will also give example of a few real life and real world engineers that have gone ahead to create great businesses by, solving problems. What makes engineer entrepreneurs unique? Unlike, other entrepreneurs, we are unique in the sense that by training, our training position us to align or position us perfectly for entrepreneurship. Uh, Part of our training make us very curious, right? From the basics of engineering, we are always asking questions. We always want to know why, how, and then those leads to the answers eventually leads to innovation and eventually, opportunity for businesses. Engineers by training, because of the rigor and all of that, have tolerance for risk, right? We're able to, explore the unknown, or we are always willing and able to explore the unknown. And then we are also able to adapt quickly. So, and that is very key in entrepreneurship, right? Pivoting. When you try things and they are not working, you don't get stuck or you don't stay stuck, you pivot, you change when the need arises and quickly for that matter. So before we go forward, I just want to, show an example of some um, real world, like I said, engineers who are doing great things. Elon is one of them. Maybe, I don't know if he's a politician now, but he studied physics and economics, and he's the founder of Tesla, SpaceX, and quite a few other companies that are doing very well. He has led, he led the transportation revolution. That's the electric vehicle mobility space, right? There was a lot of doubt, but just like the engineer that he is, he stuck to his guns, and here we are having a change in that space. Another engineer that I want us to, maybe go back, look at read about them and see why, they probably are not just successful by accident, right? It's Jeff Bezos. He studied electrical and computer engineering, and he founded Amazon, which is doing very well. They've, completely changed the retail technology space. Like we said earlier, like we defined engineering, we said we are problem solvers. So by training, we are more focused on just solving technical problems. We want to find solutions to technical problems, but then a little bit of mind shift probably position us as great entrepreneurs. And what do we need to do? All we need to do is just, shift our mindset or focus from just pure technical solutions to, you know, um, addressing business solutions or real life problems, right? And most of the time using technology as well to as a bridge, right? Now, as engineers, we said by training, every now and then our focus is on solving problems, even though they are technical problems. We, in the process, we find opportunities, right, of solving real life problems. So why do market gaps matter? They do matter because entrepreneurship is about, finding a need and filling it, finding a problem, solving it, and then get rewarded in the process, right? So as engineers, every day we are solving problems. So in the process of solving problems, maybe it will be nice for us to focus on looking at gaps that we can fill with our technical solutions, our technical solutions, right? Because we are already designed or trained to solve technical problems, which probably need to be focusing more on adapting those technical solutions to real life problems. And most of the times, you know, businesses start with just, finding a problem to solve, finding a need, filling it, either with technology, with service solution, as it were, just spot a problem, build a solution around it. That's 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 just how entrepreneurship starts, right? And the intersection is at the opportunities, right? So while we are busy doing our everyday work as engineers, we come to a point where what we are working on is probably going to solve big problems that presents an opportunity for a business or entrepreneurship, right? So just for example, I put here the example of Airbnb and Uber, right? Airbnb, before now, people have empty spaces in their houses. Nobody ever thought of, monetizing an extra room in their houses. But then some engineers went to work, saw the need, saw an opportunity there, build a business around it, and today it's a massive space, just by tapping onto an unmet need, right? Same with Uber. Before the advent of Uber, you probably have to wait hours for or walk distance to a cab station, wait for the cab to come. But these days, technology, basically, of course, from engineers, have made it so easy to order a ride, even from the comfort of your room. So what are we saying? What we're saying is that the intersection between engineering and entrepreneurship is in these opportunities, because ordinarily, every day, our job is to solve problems. But then while we are solving these problems, we're looking at opportunities to adapt the technical solutions that we are working on to everyday um, uh, um, problems, right? So while we find opportunities, we then build a business. And how do you build a business? Like we said before, you find a need, solve the problem, and there you are, you have a business, because once you provide services or solution or products, people will pay for it, right? So you start with a product, a market, find a solution to existing problems, um, find the market, that's the buyers, the customers. Definitely, if you are addressing a need, the customers will definitely be there. The buyers will be there. The details around whether the assumptions will be suitable or will be left for another section. But for this section, the basic thing is to find a need, that's the market, produce or solve the problem, have a product, solution or service, and address the problem. And we start by, with an idea. You just define the problem and the solution. If it's a physical product, you build a prototype. Just make sure that you conceptualize what it is you think will solve the problem you want to solve. Validate it, sometimes in the lab, other times out there in the field, and then you have a business, right? Now, it's easy to have an idea, build a product, but then running a business is another thing altogether. And that's where maybe entrepreneurship as a whole can be maybe hard or difficult. Now, doing, not learning to do, is the essence of entrepreneurship. So, and that's the cross, that's the intersection that, like we said earlier, as everyday engineers, we continue to learn, we continue to do our work, but having technical solutions. But as an entrepreneur, we are not learning, we are learning on the go. It's doing. You just have to get to work and not learning to do it. You do it on the go, right? So remember, no one ever achieves success by planning for goal. The hardest thing about getting started is, just to start. And as an entrepreneur, you should always be selling and not strategizing. I've said something earlier about, designing or producing a product, developing a product or solution, which as an engineer, I think in my earlier life, I did have, that problem, because as an engineer, you just love to see, you love to create things, but that's different from doing business, right? You're a technology enthusiast. Um, you want to you want to see technology work. You want to, as an engineer, you want to prove principles. You want to do research and have research results. But as an entrepreneur, you want to have a product and sell them. You want to have solutions. You want to have services and sell them. So you don't strategize. You go to sell straight up as an entrepreneur. So it's about finding a need, building a solution or product for it, and building a business out of it. So the act of building that business is the entrepreneurship, and is totally different from, wanting to find an answer to a problem, right? Like an everyday engineer wanting to, get a result for a certain research. Research can end up, in the book, but entrepreneurship will not stop just at the end of a prototype. It has to go to market and, and generate revenues. So once you find a product, find a need, develop a product, find your market, you have to find money. In this session, it's quite introductory. I didn't go into depth, into details about, how you raise the funding and all of that. But basically, you start, with your funds, your family, and then, of course, other people around you, to test what it is you believe in before, going for external funding. And then, of course, if you have to go for external funding, you have to have, your assumptions very right. You can start without, having the revenues, but of course you have to do projections. So you develop a proper financial plan, which starts with the revenue assumptions, your operating cost, your assets, and whatever it is you need to get the business started. Then, of course, you move into, developing your minimum viable product, make projections for your customers, how much they will pay and all of that to, you know, give the investors the insight into your business, right? And especially when the funding is external. I mean, if it's only you and the family, maybe not much of that details will be those details will be required. But then, of course, if you are going to pitch to other people, you have to be very clear about how it is business and not another engineering research, right? In terms of funding, you could go for equity and debt, but for startups, most of the times, probably it's better, to go equity, but it's neither here or there. For equity, your investors just buy into your business. There is no repayment obligation. It is not linked to any interest. The investors already know that it's high risk and they are not waiting for you to pay back. But of course, they will probably want to have interest in the business, especially how the business runs, so that their investment can be protected. Unlike debt is usually provided, with collateral. You have to probably, stake something to get debt. But the good part of debt is that the lenders have no interest in your business, not that much. They don't have any control over your business. And once you finish paying back the debt, you're free to run your business the way you want, unlike, equity. Now, navigating challenges in engineering entrepreneurship, like I said earlier, it doesn't stop, right? So once you start, it's a continuous process. You will have to ensure some continuity. You will have to work extra hard to ensure that the customers are happy, the products are always available, they are distributed, and it's a continuous cycle. So it comes with quite a lot of challenges. But then there is, based on our training positions us very well and adequately to be to venture easily, right? But then part of that training is also has some negative effects, right, on running or starting a business, right? Because as engineers, we are, excellence is our watchword. So we will want to, go over it again and again and again. But the advice in entrepreneurship is good enough is often just good enough, unlike the perfection that is required in engineering. I'm not saying we don't need it when it is required in business, right? But it's other people's job to do. As an entrepreneur, your focus is to get going and, generate revenues, keep the customers happy and all of that. So good enough is just good enough. And it's okay to fail. You fail, you learn, you start again. And that's where risk, analysis, mitigation, and all of that is key in entrepreneurship. You don't just jump into it because it could go wrong. And when you go wrong, you want to, limit the effects, as it were, right? So balancing technical perfection and business viability. So you don't have the leverage of waiting to have 100%, as it were, as an engineer in business. In business, time is of the essence, and you cannot, wait for laboratory, in quote, perfection, right? So sometimes, as engineers, we do fail in business or in entrepreneurship because we over-engineer. We are enthusiasts by training, right? We love it. We want to see a flying car. But if it's possible, if the objective is to get the car from one point to the other, let's get the car going first before we talk of, the car flying. So let the car not stay in the laboratory for 100 years waiting to fly. We lack, customer focus. It's all about our training. It's all about the enthusiasm about the output, not the customer. But in entrepreneurship, it's about the customer. They are going to be the ones to pay. It is their problems we are trying to solve, not our problems. So most of the times, engineers tend to fail in business because our focus is different. Our focus is on the product. We are working and making it perfect instead of, designing and pushing out what the customer wants. Poor resource management. Yeah, we are most of the times facing machines and all of that. So the human resource part of it is always, a bit of a problem for not all engineers. Other people, and some people are naturally, and by other sort of source of soft trainings are properly trained. But then, of course, I'm highlighting it so that we know that it's a requirement. There could be gaps so that when you want to go into business, it's not just about the product. It's not. We also need to manage resources. And then, of course, this is not only for engineers. I guess almost everybody that want to venture is always afraid of failing. But in business or as an entrepreneur, you just identify the risk, try to mitigate them as much as possible, and run. There will always be failures. So let the fear of failure not stop us from starting, right? And again, just like I've mentioned, in the last slide, as engineers, we're trained to be engineers, you know, working with machines, computers, and all of that, not much of people. So we probably need soft trainings to own our leadership and communication competencies to be successful entrepreneurs. Of course, I would have started by saying I'm an hands-on, entrepreneur, and I've learned sometimes not, the hard way, how to, why I should have trained in some of these soft skills before starting, right? When you are working with machines, they respond. When you are working with people, they respond differently. When you are having to then, manage multidimensional or multidisciplinary teams, it's a different ball game altogether. So you will need to have a strong culture, learn the language of the people and the environment, simplify complex ideas for non-technical resources, because we oftentimes get easily worked up when people don't seem to run at our pace as engineers, right? We are smart people. We are just there, right? And we want everybody to fly the way we fly. But then as an entrepreneur, you will have to have some allowance for other people that are not in quote smart, but not as trained as you are, or not in the same type of training like you. And accountants do numbers, yes, but not complex numbers as engineers do. Maybe a human resource person thinks differently, and then you want them to think as fast as you. So, the essence here is just that it's key. Leadership training, communication, and other soft skills and competencies are key to building a successful business. Yeah, trends shaping the future of entrepreneurship. It's technology, right? And then sustainability. Renewable energy now and in the near future will be, a space to venture, right? There will be lots of opportunities around there. AI and automation is another space to venture, and then of course industry. A lot of things will move into automation, or we're already moving into automation, and very soon it will be full automation, even in factories, with IoTs and all of that, right? And then of course, global collaboration. There's still a lot of opportunities around there, cross-border partnerships. These days you sit in wherever you are and move money without any restrictions. There's quite more opportunities around cross-border partnerships that could be done leveraging technology, right? So future-proof careers and businesses is premise on continuous learning. We have to stay updated. What we know or knew 20 years ago is probably not as relevant today. And if we are not careful, very easily and fast, the space will just keep changing. So we have to continue, to continuously train to stay updated. To be a successful entrepreneur as well, you need to network, right? In my MBA, there was something we did, right? We had to put our network into a balance sheet type of, balance sheet. You have, put the people in your network, the ones you think are assets, the ones you think are liabilities. But the key point is that networking is very key to building a successful business, because it's all about relationship. Even customers, they only buy from people they trust and like, right? For some reason, if your customers just don't like you, they may decide not to just buy your product. And there could be various reasons for that. So it's about building relationships and networks. Adaptability. You cannot be a successful entrepreneur by, being so rigid, just wanting, if I don't build that flying car, then you don't have a product. If you're not careful, maybe you won't have a product in your lifetime. But then if you're, very adaptive, you pivot. A lot of businesses today turn out doing something entirely different from what they set out to do. Quite a lot of them, right? So we have to be flexible when we want to venture, right? And then, of course, innovation. Where if you start if you venture, you will have to continuously invest in innovation, making sure that you improve on the product, either the product itself or the processes of delivering that product to the customer, or just even how to communicate with the customer. So innovation is at the key of, it's at the heart of what we do as entrepreneurs. Yeah, so I think that rounds it up. But before the questions and answer, I had some slides some information I wanted to share that I couldn't put on the slide. So if you allow me, I will just put it up and I'll share the link eventually so that we can go over it. And I just wanted to share that, just in case we're afraid of anything, we are not alone. There are quite a lot of, people like us trying to do things. So I have some stats. I will share the link later so that, so there are about 582 million entrepreneurs around the world. So if it will not be a bad thing if we join them. And quite a lot of them, small businesses make up about 90% of all global companies. So if we start one, we'll just be part of, people doing great things. There are an estimated 359 million companies worldwide, of course, registered companies. The 583 are entrepreneurs. They are, solving problems in one way or the other, right? So I will share these stats. so that, and other information, and I'm always available also to share more insights just in case we need more, right? So I will stop here for the Q&A, and then of course engagement, because like I said, I want it to be a collaborative session. So thank you very much for listening.
Wow, 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 wow. Please let's celebrate our presenter, Engineer Andrew. That was a wonderful one, sir. That was a wonderful one. Sir, permit me to brag about you, sir, because
Ah,
that's a wonderful one. I can say only Nipsey can make this happen. And we to have someone with so much experience, resources, and knowledge on the subject matter. You are living the talk, not that you're just presenting something to us, and that's why it flows so much. And so I want to thank our organizing partner, Mr. Ibrahim Lisa, again for making this happen. That was a wonderful one, sir. And that being said, I want to open the floor to everyone. I have my own comments, but before that time, I want to open the floor um, to everyone on the call for questions and contributions. Please, if there's anyone with any questions, contributions, comments, please, the floor is yours. Please indicate, and you'll be given the opportunity to speak.
yeah, I can see John raising his hand.
Hello, engineer.
Yes, sir. I guess that's the John that I know.
Yeah, it's interesting that we find ourselves in interesting places. Basically, yeah, it's good to listen to you speak and seeing your transformation from an engineer, who into the corporate world, and then from the corporate world into an entrepreneur. And like you rightly said, it's a reflection of the qualities and the realities of our times, where jobs are no longer rigid. The boundaries are very, very fluid, and we should be prepared, to step up and live our dreams and also make an impact on society. And I think all the points that you did raise are very interesting and they're very useful. And I'm just wondering whether you can add a little bit, at least for our audience, perhaps, who are still developing their careers and trying to make that jump into entrepreneurship. Because you think about it, there's one of the common factors there will be finance and capital. So yeah, jumping into the unknown. So what are the sort of barriers did you face, and how did you go about building that character, to still stay resilient and continue with your pursuit, being an entrepreneur. So that experience to date, what is it that we can learn from your own experience and how you got here?
All right. Do I answer now or take other people first?
No, I think you can take other people.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Moderator, do I answer John, or we take all the questions and then I give the answers? Okay, John, let me just quickly answer if I understand your question very well. It's wanting to be an entrepreneur as a global, best practice, or how do I say? And another thing entirely to be an entrepreneur in Nigeria. But I will try to stay positive, right? So it's all about what I said earlier, finding a need. So people will say, it's got something to do with passion. I doubt to a large extent. Not many people love their job, yet they are doing it. If you have to do it, but maybe it's just finding a need and filling it, right? So you probably have to be that passionate about solving a problem to be able to stay awake to keep doing it even when it is not working. So, and then transiting from engineering into that space is a bit tricky, because as an employee, every month end, there's something on the table, right? But as an entrepreneur, there's quite a lot of uncertainties. A lot of the basics are just assumptions, right? You start with assumptions. Even the product you think the customer will like, or they tell you at the beginning they like, they may not even like it at the end of the day, and you are left with, just so yeah. First, you have to have the motivation, and the motivation is solving that, a real life problem, right? Secondly, I think money is not that much of a problem, except if you don't have a good idea. There's quite a lot of capital looking for investment, okay? But the challenge we have locally is convincing investors. I won't want, like I said, I want to stay positive. So I won't want to bring the Nigerian factor thing, because other people are doing great things as well. People are investing in Nigeria, but then we are, I mean, we find it difficult to present our case to investors to the extent of convincing them to invest. Investors are looking for how to multiply their money. They don't, they care less about, our technology, our great English and changing the world, right? They care less about that. The only thing they want is how to multiply their money. So if you can convince them enough, there's quite a lot of capital. So capital, I want to believe, is not the problem. Now, what the problem is with the investors is, you believe in something so much, but you don't want to take anything, right? So most of us locally, we just want other people's money. We don't want to put in our money, and sometimes not even enough time, right? So from my experience, if you have a good idea, solving a good, having a good solution to a pressing problem, and you are able to present it very well, there is capital. Now, the challenge is environment, the operating environment in Nigeria, depending on what it is you are venturing into, what space. I can see some sectors doing very well, but other sectors, especially where we play, physical tech, it's quite, like manufacturing now, it's just, I don't know how to say it. Let me give a small example to just tell you how challenging it is. In 2022, I got a loan from Bank of Industries, right, to set up a lithium battery assembling plant in Nigeria. Then, if you convert the naira equivalent, then maybe it will be 4 point something million dollars then. But now that same money cannot get me $1.5 million, maybe $1.2 million. Now, so the operating environment is quite volatile. No, a lot of uncertainties, and then you're already coming from the position of uncertainty, right? A lot of the things you are working on are based on assumption, and then you now have the real part of it still on assumption. Then it becomes a little bit difficult, right? If you are $2 million rich today, okay, so like my turnover, right? It depends on what rate I want to use to, to convert them. But in 1 year, the rate could be, I could boast to say I'm doing revenue in millions of dollars. But if care is not taken, the next year, if you are using the current exchange rate, that comes down to nothing, right? So the challenge is the operating environment. I do believe that it will take time, but eventually, we'll get there, right? So, but in terms of other factors like the opportunities, they are quite there. There are quite a lot of opportunities in Nigeria. We have the population, we are still struggling with basic things, a little bit of, technology innovation, and you have products or you have solutions for millions of people. With millions of people paying for it, right? So the answer is, from my experience, the only difficult part is the local operating environment. Money is not the problem. Problems to solve are not also the problem. Customers are available and they are willing to pay for quite a lot of things. If you generate electricity today, people are sitting, and in fact, they are ready to pay you upfront if you can give them 24/7 electricity without, telling stories, right? Again, I have experience, right? I went to a village, I built a mini grid. But I borrowed the money in dollars. Now I was generating naira that at some point was not enough again to convert to pay back my loans. So the local operating environment is just the challenge as far as I'm concerned. And I think I've been at it for 10 years. I started my own, running this business in 2016, 9 years now. Yeah. So and in this circle of 9 years, we probably have had 3 recessions that I witnessed one-on-one, right? I'm still battling in the bank with FS differential and all of that. So if there's any challenge, to answer your question again, is the local operating, but it's also possible to work around this with your assumptions, and then working with reality, right? So sometimes, because we can be quite excited, as new entrepreneurs. You see the numbers, you are jumping. So, but most of the times, if we can be very, very realistic, very, very realistic. So sometimes as an entrepreneur, when you are sitting in your boardroom or wherever making the assumptions, you're looking at, oh no, customers won't be able to pay for this. So you decide from day one to shut yourself by making assumptions for them. So you probably allow them to make the decision of paying or not paying, right? Because sometimes the problem could just be right pricing. Okay, so you have a great product, but not good pricing, and you end up just working and not making money. And you can't have a business not making money.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for that. That was the extra cream, the ice on the on the cake. Thank you, sir. I don't know if there's any other person that wants to say something. Anyone with their hands up? So before I go ahead, let me just acknowledge the presence of some of our schools. I want to first acknowledge the National Vice Chairman, Capacity Development, Engineer Yusuf Abdikaja. Welcome, sir. And also Engineer Chinwe Aliu, our National Financial Secretary. You're welcome. Right. So that being said, sir, this topic is very dear to me because I myself am an entrepreneur, full-blown entrepreneur, and I was surprised when you said it's just 10 years that you've done so much. And I can say the same for myself too. I quit my job 2015 and started full-blown. Even though I registered my first 2 companies in the university, because I attended Covenant University, and
wow.
there they really instill entrepreneurship in us, and so that's where the whole thing started, and I still having that idea. So when I was doing well in working for my employer, sorry, and but I just wanted something extra. I wanted to create something from nothing. Like you said, the engineering training, create something from nothing. I know it was looking as if my salary was a privilege, just waiting for it every time. But I said I wanted to go to the unknown, or something the unknown, which most people are scared about. But sincerely, it's not easy. It's not easy, right? Like you said, I said salary earners wait at the end of the month, they expect something. We Sometimes I can go 3 months without anything, but I have to keep doing something. I have to keep satisfying my clients. I have to ensure that everybody's happy. I have to keep trying to create, you know, looking for needs to solve, for different people and all that. And it's been an interesting ride. Just to share a bit of my experience, not to waste our time. When I quit my job and I went to meet my boss, was like a father to me. He also, of course, a one-man business, so it's kind of an entrepreneurship thing. And he asked me, because this is where people get it very tough. What can I do? How do I go? How do I make this happen? And you said something. You just have to make that move, or else not everything cannot be perfect. You just have to make that move. So he asked me, um, what are the things I'm willing to do? I said, okay, I was an ICT engineer. And at that time, I've registered 2015 August. I registered my first engineering firm, which I named Information and Telecommunications Engineering Services Limited. And so my idea was about just getting big contracts and all that. So he said, what can I do? I said, of course, the big contract. He said, no, what are you passionate about? Because that passion too adds value to what you do. The basic is find the need. You might not be passionate about it, but just find the need and feel it. But when you have that passion, it keeps you up no matter the downturn. So he asked me, I said, okay, one of the other things I know how to do is graphics design. I said, okay, I think you should start with that. You are going to the field. Someone you'd have enjoyed free staff house, everything. Go into the field, go and start the business. Today they'll give you 1,000 naira. Today, tomorrow they give you 2,000 naira. By next time it will become 5,000. Next time it can become 10,000, 100,000, 1 million for start. So I said, okay, what can I do? The person that was supplying our stationery to us, I was the IT manager covering four states of the company. It's an audit firm, audit and accounting firm. So the guys supplying stationery to us, I told him, I said, okay, I can come and join him in Area 10. That's VTC where we print. I stayed with him 6 months to learn, the printing business. And that's how I started. So my boss was my first client. He gave me to go and just do business card and letterhead for his company. I was so excited. Maybe I made 10,000 naira. This is a guy that has been doing well in it. So, but I was just excited that I'm starting something. I'm feeling a need, and from there I kept on doing it. Then one of my friends called me from Ministry of Health. Said they want to do some training manuals. I was so excited. By the time I got there, it was about just photocopying training manuals. I was excited. I still took the job. So along the line, they needed to upgrade some sets of documents in the Ministry of Health and the Child Health Division. So he reached out to me that they've been trying a lot of graphics designers. This is where the engineering training comes in, that resilience. That a lot of normal graphics designers, they run away because you need a lot of technical capacity to be able to absorb all they are saying, their manuscript, look at it, be able to translate it into proper manuals. With the IECs, that's Information Educative and Communication Manuals, where it can educate, communicate with all graphics, and it has to just be precise. Okay, I said I can do it, and that's how we started. As I got my first 300,000, just with graphics, same graphics design. They gave me a contract for 10 days at something thousand pounds. That's how they did. UNICEF sponsored it, and that's how I started, sir. And I can tell you, sir, that since then I've done more than 100 million. If we talk about revenue, but if I won't be able to launch out, and I think that's the fear people always have. I'm not saying that easy. I've had a lot of ups and downs, very, very rough one. But while I was doing that, then I went to the engineering thing that I love. So, I said digital manufacturing, 3D printing, and all that. And even got grants from the World Bank to also play the role of business service provider with the World Bank and so many organizations just like that. And I'm still doing it, but I just had to start something. A lot of people don't have that fear. So I think it's like he told us, take that leap and just try something, find the need. And like the journey I'm coming from, I was coming from Shiroro Power Station. And the need I'm trying to solve for them, I think I started the business with them 2021. is to the scarcity of parts, spare parts of the plant. Even if it's just a small boat or something, they can shut down the whole plant because there is a fluid passes through that place and it doesn't have to pass through, and they need some kind of control. They shut the whole plant down. And because some of those things were created in the 1970s and all, most of their parts are not readily available. So what I offered to them was data manufacturing using 3D printers to print models, and that we've been doing that. So I just went for maintenance of the printer and all that. So this is how I've been doing, and I've been up and down. So one of the questions I would like to ask you, sir, and I want you to tell us again is, some of us are in this space already to entrepreneurs, but we are trying to scale up. I might not just be talking for myself, for maybe one or two. We are trying to scale up. And you mentioned that you've had access to BOI, the loans and all at that level. I know a lot of us have skills. Engineers have skills, but they don't have that connection to the business side, like you said. So if you can just touch one or two things for scale up, and I know we'll definitely start call back to you to maybe for another more expanded section, to look into more details. And so that's it. Scale up. For some of us that are already in the space, what are those steps to scale up? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so like you said, I deliberately left out, the growth and scaling part of it because it's quite a lot of information in one session, right? So, but locally, what I found out is that no matter how much people talk bad about the government, they do have good policies and a lot of interventions. But I don't know, for some reason, the information is just not available to the real people, right? Because till in fact, the BOI people were chasing me to come and collect the money, right? If that, so they do have these interventions. When I started, I'll answer your question technical in terms of how to scale technically, but I want to give you real. So when I started in 2016, all the banks were asking for collateral before they would give us money. Do you know that this Nigerian government, they have a an entity, a small, I mean, a bank that is a sub, it's under another federal government bank that they sell this collateral as an like an asset, right? Like you just pay, and then they will collateralize any money you want to borrow from the bank, and it's supposed to be the right of every person that does business or small business owners in Nigeria. But these bank people, they hid the information. They will collect these monies and maybe convert them to some other commercial. So I was actually taking loans from the bank without physical collateral, but so they will collateralize all my loans up to 60%. Of course, you pay. I think you pay like 1% or something of the value, but then you don't need to go bring any physical asset that you don't have, right? So same with the BOI. I didn't know they gave me 2 billion naira. I mean, just I don't know. By asking questions, of course, you have to, fill their forms and be rightly positioned, but not so much of knowing people. But I think the challenge is the information, whether on purpose they keep the information away from the real people doing or I just honestly I don't know, but there are quite a lot of interventions, right? For small businesses with before the last section of the CBN stop the interventions. There were so many interventions in CBN that if you all you just needed to do is know that it does exist and apply. in most cases, they were not even, I mean, there was no the Nigerian factor thing, you having to sort people, but getting that information was, and I think is still the challenge. A lot of people in the space don't even know anything. The government probably also don't come down with information. Now, to scale, like I said during the presentation, investors are looking for opportunity to multiply their money. Now, most of what okay, so I spinned off, I started with my network, right? I was working for MTN as a project manager. My core competence was project management. So I started by working as a contractor for MTN, but I was not doing business, right? It was contract. There was no clear differentiation. Anybody could just do it, right? Do whatever it is I was doing, buying and selling stuff to MTN. Just any of my colleagues that have had the opportunity of either working for MTN or Airtel. So there was no clear differentiation. There was no competitive advantage as a business. So to scale, you will have to have a good product solution, have clear differentiation, because what happens in Nigeria is whatever is selling, everybody is doing, I mean, everybody diverse to that, and then the whole space become, you know, clouded or crowded, so to say, without clear differentiation. And then, of course, professionalism disappears out of the window and you are measured. I'm saying that because I do solar, right? I started doing solar since 2017, but then my technicians are my employees are my direct competitors, right? So what am I saying? You must make sure that you have a business, you have a product that is not just what everybody can do or do, because that's one why you will not get funding. Nobody will want to put their money into something that is not sustainable. They put money there today, tomorrow the money disappears. So if you want to scale, you will have to be very clear on your offering, the value proposition, and the sustainability of it, right? So not too many businesses, have this. We all are doing something, we are trying to solve, but I think a lot of, permit me to use the word, a lot of people are just hustling, right? Just survivor. They are just trying to make ends meet, not doing business. So for you to scale, you have to make sure that you do it properly, okay? Properly means you have what the customer wants, you are one of the few people, and you are not in a hurry. So if you truly have a product or a solution that is solving customers' problem, you don't need to be in a hurry. They will come back. They will come to you. They will find you. But then if you don't, then you are tempted, or you'll be tempted to do it the way everybody is doing it. And the way everybody is doing it is probably not that sustainable. So you will not probably be able to scale that much. And then on a personal note, don't be afraid of, if you want to scale, then you have to have a chest you have to have capacity for expansion. You have to have capacity to accommodate. So when people start talking billion, don't be afraid of talking billion, because that's scaling. Because when you are scaling, it's a multiplier effect. It's not plus one, plus two. No, you from maybe you jump from 1,000 to 10 million, from 10 million to 3 billion. So you will have to have build. If you don't have it, you have to build capacity to accommodate the expansion, both in terms of business knowledge, management, and all of that. That's aside making sure that you have a clear value proposition. There's something that makes you stand out. There's something you can go to people and say, take your money, I'm going to make you money. Because it's all about creating value, both for the customer, for the investors, yourself, your family, right? So you are just the one leading, the value chain of creating the value. So if you cannot boast confidently to say, bring your money, and confidently or not for one night to say, I am going to make you money, then maybe you're not ready for scaling. But once you're at that stage, maybe as we progress, there is access. Like now, in the news, you see every now and then REA borrowing or being given 700 and something $million, $200 million here and there. There's so much capital in the market. It's just having a good value proposition that we convince the investors to risk their funds to invest. And you also setting out for the long time. So it's not something you start in 3 years, you start all over again. No, you should have a clear plan, maybe 5 years, and then another 5 years. And that way you can effectively scale. The reason most of us, including me, right, I've not been able to scale that much, is that clear value proposition. Yes, we are maybe solving a problem, but we haven't gone down to the extent that we can beat our chest to say, we'll wait for the customer, they will definitely come, right? We're afraid they won't come because there is no no clear competitive advantage over the alternatives or the other solutions that does exist, right? Then we haven't built so much capacity to actually visualize and then of course take on that expansion, right? So I don't know if I've answered your question.
Sir, you've answered the question very well, sir. Thank you so much. I just want to make a point that you said, even though I themed it as mindset here. You said if they're talking billions, don't be scared to say billions too, and be ready to be able to ask, for investors' money if you, of course, you have a value proposition, the capacity. Thank you so much, sir, because the mindset matters a lot in all this, to be able to, reach out. I know that for sure because a lot of people are scared. They don't even know, don't let me go there. It's for big people, rich people.
Sorry to cut you. Somebody will tell you, oh, don't borrow money. Oh. I mean, you have to borrow money.
Yes, Dangote borrows money.
It's leverage. You don't
yes,
use other people's money to do business, right? You don't necessarily have to have the money to do. So don't be scared to borrow money. You borrow money, but of course, use it for judicious. And when you borrow money, you are multiplying the money for the money owners, right? If you borrow money from the bank, you're paying 30% interest. If your business is not that, your value proposition or your business is not that sustainable, I wonder how you pay back 30% and still on top of their money and have something left for yourself and your staff, right? I think somebody is raising their hands.
Okay. So is that Mr. Kawi Rufus? Please, you have the floor.
Yeah, this is Engineer Austin.
Oh, my pioneer chairman, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, facilitator, for the very eloquent presentation that you have made to us this evening. Yeah, in answering the question, you said something about opportunities that exist, investors that exist, but the information is not out there. I guess you have the information now. Is there a way you can share the information for us? Information that is not within the public domain that they are supposed to be in? That's my question. Is there a way you can share with us so that we would have gotten so much from this year tutorial today, this year training today, if we're able to know where to go to get the collateral? He said we don't even need collateral. The collaterals are there, where to go to do it. Some of us are thinking about things like that, how to improve the life in certain quarters of Nigeria. But if we know where to go to help people leverage and grow, that would be nice. And I think you already crossed that bridge. You have seen more than eyes could see. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So I'm sure there will be a follow-up email and communications to this. So I'll share as much as I have. And then, of course, since it's going to be a network, we'll continue to share more information. I also want to, enjoy the leverage of getting more from the team, right? So, but I'll share as much as I have. Like that collateral that I mentioned, I used it several times. And most of the banks are supposed to have signed up to it, but some banks don't give, but my bank did. I was using Sterling, and they used that to collateralize all my loans at the beginning when I had no assets to as collateral.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Yeah, so that was our pioneer chairman, the first chairman and the founding chairman of our institute. Yes. So, like you said, sir, the network. I'm assuming that means you are going to be our member, and so we'll take you through the steps. And by God's grace, as we're going to the end of the year, we're going to do fellowship conferment. I think we should also consider you for that, sir. Thank you so much for this time, and the follow-up information, the slides, we'll be open to have that, and you just give us some time too. We'll also present you the certificate of facilitation for this particular master class. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, so this is a wonderful section. This is a wonderful section, the best yet. And okay, I think Mr. Ibrahim put something on the chat. Now, he said, if you were to start again, what would you take as the best route to follow? Your advice for starters, please.
Okay. In that case, there's no right or wrong answer, right? So, but I will just try. If I was going to do it all over again, I will just do what I said the last. My answer to your question would be how I would do it differently. I will make sure that I have a good value proposition, the target market properly researched, feedbacks gotten, product developed with customer feedbacks, then launch properly, right? If you listen to me, what I said, I leverage my expertise earlier at the beginning to generate some cash. I used it as cash cow to start, but then I think it also had this the downside, which was it was taking all my time and not letting me focus on the innovation and the startup because I resigned my job to go into power. Then they haven't started mini grid, but my idea was if telecommunication could get to everybody because it was liberalized, and then power could be as well, because I went to villages to build the towers you're seeing everywhere. I think I managed building close to 10,000 of them for MTN, and I guess they have about 14 now. I don't know if they have built more. So I knew quite a lot about deploying and building infrastructure. So my whole idea was how to find a solution. I mean, same type of solution or model for power. That was what I wanted to do. But because I had to survive, I went first, doing contracting, which took a lot of my time. And then, so if I must start all over again, or if I have the opportunity of doing it again, I'll do it right this time, not necessarily by the book, but of course, having a clear value proposition, clear target market, define customer segment with, customer feedback on the product that I want to sell them. Not, I mean, they want, not the one I want to sell them, the one they want. And then that way, I will now go back home and the rest and wait for the business to grow, right? And again, on a lighter note, if I will want to do it all over again, I'll choose a model where you don't need to chase customer to get your money. Yeah, they should pay for service before you deliver the service, right? If I will do it all over again. So while we are thinking of venturing, we should also think of the environment, build solutions that people pay for without hassle. You don't have to carry, invoices up and down town before they pay you. If they need your service that much, let them pay for it before getting the services, right?
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. That's your fancy. That's it, fancy. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. I want to appreciate you as one of the good Nigerians. It's great to share your knowledge. You're not keeping this old knowledge to yourself. If some people say, let me keep my own to myself, so I keep making my billions. But thank you, sir. Yeah, I appreciate it, and we don't take it for granted at all. So we've had a wonderful day. And so, sorry, this is not to you, sir. This is just a question. I'm sure because of the influence of your presentation today, someone is asking, can someone who isn't an engineer be a member? Yes, we have associate membership. And so let's see what you have. You can visit niicte.ng. NICT, but you have to use the HTTPS, and the ditto and the /niicte.micti. And so you can do your application as an associate, and let's see if you meet the criteria. But for engineers who already are who are graduates of engineering, can just have full membership by also applying. So I'm sure you're asking that question because of this wonderful presentation today. You want to have more of that. So that's good, sir. That's good. And so thank you, our presenter again. Wow. Mr. You say he's on fire. He's asking another question. He says, can you ask, okay, it says, who are your influences, and what has shaped your thinking in business? Probably mentors. Yeah.
Does he really want the answer here?
Yes, maybe just chip one or two to us. Yes.
Yeah. So, I'm sure an average engineer is like me, right? Our training developed up to be very disciplined people, right? So and hardworking people as well, right? So one of my principles is, just keeping at it, working hard. I learned quite early that 95% of what you need to succeed is perspiration, right? Just work, just hitting it hard every day, and only maybe a break of the remaining 5% luck and maybe what you know. But the bulk of what you need to succeed is hard work, right? And opportunities most of the times come dressed in overall. They come like work. So even the people you think are millionaires, billionaires, at the heart of their success is hard work. So I've had a few mentors who will not let me sleep until I do it. For me, I will do it tomorrow all the time, right? But the people that shape me and influence the way I think are, I mean, I don't want to mention them, but my mentor, I don't have so many of them, but my mentors are very disciplined people. They don't know how to say it the other way, right? So that's why I ask Ibrahim if he wants me to say it here, because there's the Nigerian factor. There's also the, corporate politics. You have to be diplomatic and all of that. But the people that have shaped my life, somehow, as very straight people, they don't know how to do it the other way. They are hardworking people. They will not sleep until the job is done, and they won't let you sleep unless you have finished what you're doing. So that way, I've been able to get success even when I didn't know so many people. Now, success open doors for you somehow, right? So when you prove people wrong, somehow nature have a way of making people come your way or listen to you, right? So you can become somebody, even in Nigeria, without knowing people, if you are good at what you do and you stay at it.